Hey everybody, and welcome back to MoodTube. I'm your host, Paul Malamud. As you can see, I'm out wearing some pretty pink pajamas, which means I won week 1 of Bet Moody against Giants fan Crawford Clark. Picking against the spread in week 2 of MoodTube, I went 4-1, with the only game I got wrong being the Saints failing to cover their 3-point spread against the Bucs. Speaking of those Bucs, there's something I have to get off my chest. Throughout the entire Darrelle Revis trade saga, I was never a Revis Island hater. I fully supported him going out trying to get the money that he thought he deserved. But with the reports that have surfaced the past week about him not being happy in Tampa Bay and about him not playing enough man coverage, there's something I've got to say. Darrelle, what did you expect? You're going from having the best defensive mind in the entire NFL, game planning and building his defense around you. There's not a single situation in the entire league that could have been better fit for you. Let alone the fact that you're also going from Rex Ryan, one of the most player-friendly coaches in the league, to Greg Schiano, a college coach trying to make it into the NFL and a well-known hard-ass. You made the decision to go after the money, which you were well entitled to do. But with that comes certain sacrifices, and you've got to live with that. Quit being a cancer. With that out of the way, I'd like to welcome our very special guest, former Buffalo Bill, and the all-time leader in points scored at the University of Albany, my high school quarterback, Drew Smith. Hey Drew, how's it going? Welcome to MoodTube.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Not too bad. It's good to have you here. So first off, I think for your fans' sake, we got to ask you, what's your situation doing? How's your recovery and whatnot?
Yeah, man, doing all right. Tore a ligament in my hand, but I'll be okay. 6 to 8 weeks, so got about 3 weeks left with this little brace on, but I should be good to go after that.
And that's exciting. So have you gotten any interest from any teams yet, or nothing really official?
Yeah, I got some interest. A couple teams, the Saints, Bucs, Dolphins, and Giants. Giants actually were thinking about possibly bringing them in for a workout after their week 1 debacle at the running backs. But, obviously I just got to get healthy. Hopefully my agent can set up, some kind of individual workout with them later down the road. But I won't go right now just to heal up and rehab and get it back to full strength.
All right, and so this summer you got the chance to do something that I think anybody who's ever strapped up the helmet and shoulder pad has at some point dreamed of doing. You got to play in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So, can you just tell us a little bit, what was that like? What was your experience?
Obviously, man, it was surreal. I couldn't even imagine, Finally got to play on Sundays, and it's a great feeling, that I accomplished that kind of in my profession. I feel like, professional athlete, which is pretty awesome, but it was fun. Everyone around the locker room was great. I mean, the Bills organization, they were fantastic. I'm grateful for the opportunity that, slim few get to, embark on. So it was great, man. I had a blast, and I hope I can, get at it again. But just knowing that I made it and I did it, it's a great feeling.
And so growing up together, I know that you were a big Peyton Manning fan. So what was it like your first preseason game running out of the tunnel in Indianapolis? Yeah. The stadium where you watched him play so many games. What was that like?
Well, first of all, the stadium's beautiful, Lucas Oil Stadium. But that's when it finally hit me. My stomach was racing. It was just crazy, that this is the place where all the games I watched. I've never even been in Indianapolis before, but it was just absolutely crazy, man. Just even seeing Andrew Luck across from me. It's not Peyton, but I know he's going to be legendary one day. I know, and Reggie Wayne. He's been part of the Peyton regime for a while. It was just crazy. I mean, even if it was in any other stadium, it'd be wild. But, to have my first game in the stadium where, I cheered for the team for a good decade, it's a great feeling.
It's pretty awesome. I can only imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And so in high school, you're obviously a quarterback at Gilderland, and then you go to Albany and you're a running back, and then you go to the Bills and they want to put you at fullback. Yeah. What was a harder transition, you think, going from being under center to taking handoffs, or from taking handoffs as the tailback to having to block those big fatties?
I think definitely the fullback. That was the hardest. I'm not sure if it was because of the competition I was going against, obviously at that level, but all the other things, they kind of just really, really, quarterback was hard from mental aspect, but in high school, it was kind of easy just to run around. But, running back, that was the most natural to me. It was pretty simple. Just use your instincts to find the best, hole and get the most yards. This fullback thing, from a physical standpoint, just obviously you said blocking those big fatties, Mike linebackers and, Jax Wills, even picking up blitzes, especially with those guys. It was tough. It still is tough, but I just had to put out some size, get used to it. I've acclimated pretty well, and I think I can do it at the level. I mean, I showed it on film and during all my preseason games, but I think physically that's pretty hard to just square up and drive it
take out those monsters. I can't even imagine it.
Yeah, man, it was rough. Getting better at it.
Big boys, and especially with those big fatties in Buffalo.
Yeah,
pretty good D-line. Speaking of the Bills so far, what do you think about what they've been doing their first 2 games?
Oh, great, man. Obviously, the week 1 that was tragic against Patriots, but they look good. I think they've shown they can compete with any team in the league, especially the Patriots. But I just think we're gonna finish in games. Obviously, I don't want to talk, but I think that they could do a better job executing at the end in the fourth quarter and winning. Obviously, great job by EJ that last drive against the Panthers, coming up with a touchdown throw to Stevie Johnson. Kid shows great boys. He's an excellent player, great guy. I wish nothing but the best for him, but I think that fourth quarter time comes and as Bills fans, they're scared that Murphy's Law is going to take place and everything's just going to go wrong. But I think if they could just get better at that and put their foot on the gas, and it will get better with time. I think as EJ acclimates to the pro speed and actually real game time. But he's a great kid. They got so many weapons. They've got so much talent. I think they're going to do well this year. I think they have a chance of making the playoffs. They just execute. But the division games are going to be rough, especially this week against the Jets.
It's funny, like Bills fans, as a Jets fan, I'm very familiar with Murphy's Law, that anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
True.
So this week's got a pretty interesting matchup with Bills versus Jets, but more specifically with EJ and Geno going head-to-head, the top 2 quarterbacks taken. From what you know about EJ from having played with him and from what you've seen for the season between him and Geno, where do you think they're at this early stage of their careers?
I think both organizations have done a great job with not overloading their plate. Obviously right now they're just trying to build upon them and make sure that they learn each game and not throw too much on their plate so they get frazzled or scared. Right now I love EJ's poise. I think he's more level-headed than Geno. Both of them are talented. I think EJ is the prototypical quarterback. 6'5", huge hands, long wingspan compared to Geno. I don't really think he's as big as him, and I think EJ has the mentality and the intangibles to succeed in the league. I'm not sure about Geno right now. I mean, luckily he got that week 1 win against the Bucs. That was a break, though. I mean, he got lucky with that they even got in field goal position for that. And, obviously with the Patriots, they do have a good defense, but you got to put up more points, from an offensive standpoint. So we'll see, but I'm looking forward to the matchup, too. And I think EJ is going to pull it out when it comes down to it.
I'm going to have to disagree. I think Rex and his boys are going to take care of business.
Yeah.
But should be interesting. And so like I said, growing up, I knew that you're a big Peyton Manning fan. With what the Broncos have done the first 2 weeks, what do you think about them? Do you think it's going to hold up?
I honestly think the AFC, it's been a long time where I see them as significantly weaker than the NFC. And with the lack of competition, I don't see how they can't, get that 1 or 2 seed and take that bye, and hopefully Peyton can come through. But in terms of a team perspective, I mean, their defense is number 1 in all categories. Their offense is clicking with 18 back there. And even having the running game show up last week with Moreno, which we never see, that was fantastic. And we don't even have Von Miller back yet, He's doing a great job. Fox over there with, instilling a winning tradition. And I think it's going to be great. I don't see what could stop them. I just hope that when playoff time comes, they can execute and not lose their swagger, their focus, their confidence.
And if he can, the big knock on Peyton Manning when going between him and Tom Brady is that Brady's got the 3 Super Bowls to Manning's 1. Yeah. Do you think if Manning can do it this year and win another Super Bowl, do you think that firmly puts him ahead of Brady as the best quarterback of our generation?
Biased-wise, I'm going to say yes, but to be realistic about it, Brady's been to five Super Bowls. He's got 3, been to 5. Which I'm not even sure how many people have ever done it. It's a small few. And, Peyton's been to 2, lost one of the Saints, but to go to 5 consistently, or go to 5, win 3, I know he'll have 2, I know he'll have the most MVPs, but a lot of people sub him in the category as the greatest regular season quarterback ever. And, some people even say Eli's better in the postseason than Peyton. I don't think Eli's better than Peyton in any perspective of quarterback, but I just hope that people can see it, but it's kind of hard to overcome, what Brady's done and how awesome he's been for his whole career.
So another quarterback who's kind of seen as one of the great regular season quarterbacks of all time, Payne's boss in Denver, John Elway. At the end of his career, we all know what happened. He won those 2 Super Bowls at the end.
Yes, yeah.
Do you think if, say, Payne goes on and does that firmly put him above Brady?
I don't know, but right now all I know is that if he wins 2, it's going to be like 1A, 1B right now, our generation. I can't put either or, but, I still think Peyton's got 3, 4 more solid years, and if they keep that roster intact, I don't know. I think this is a real run at achieving all the goals. Now if he gets 3, it's over. I consider him the best, but even 2, 4 MVPs, looks like he's on track for 5 MVPs. He's a great quarterback, great person, really perfected his craft, and I'm not quite sure, but we'll see.
With the defense they've got and the weapons they have in the passing game, and with No Sean Moreno playing well, and young Monte Ball, we'll see what can happen with that. Looks like they could be a good team for the very near future and for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Another team that I know you like a lot growing up, I know you're a big Michael Vick fan, so what do you think about what's going on in Philadelphia with Vick and Chip Kelly's offense? What do you make of that?
I think it's spectacular. Obviously, their first 2 outings put up points, and against the Redskins, man, they just blitzkrieged them completely. I think it's awesome. I've watched Chip perform his offense throughout Oregon, everything he's done, and it's a fast-paced offense. I mean, you really use a fast-paced offense to neutralize a defensive line because those big guys can't run around forever. So I like what's going on. They have the perfect pieces to do it. You have McCoy, Deshaun, and Vick, which who could want a better artillery of weapons. But, I mean, when it comes down to it, those guys, they get hurt. They're frail. I mean, they're not the biggest people ever. So if they can stay healthy, man, it's going to be awesome. But for me to think that they can stay healthy for a 17-game season, playing at that speed and getting that many plays off a game, I don't think it's possible. So right now it's great, but I'm not trying to be prisoner of the moment. There's a realistic thing to this, and it's injuries. And those guys have rarely stayed healthy. Vic really stayed healthy. Deshaun, McCoy. So we'll see, man. But right now it's impressive. It's very impressive what he's doing. I think he was the right hire for that job.
All right, and so tonight's game we got Andy Reid and the Chiefs going home to Philadelphia to play the Eagles. Who do you think's coming out ahead?
I think the Chiefs. I want to say I don't. I think they're going to slow down the pace a little bit, and they've got a complete team over there. And I think they're going to really go out there and play for their new coach. I really think they believe in his system, believe in the winning tradition that he's trying to instill over there. So I think they're going to try to pull it out for him because, this game is solely about Andy Reid for the most part. I know they're honoring Donovan McNabb at halftime, but it's Andy Reid's come home. He's been there forever. Took him to 4 straight NFC championships, 1 Super Bowl. And I know Alex Smith and the guys are going to go out and play, and they look really good. They look very complete, especially Alex Smith. And all he does is win, so we'll see.
All right, and so the last thing I want to ask you, really, before we let you go, is the first 2 weeks of the season, there's something I've noticed that seems to be going on in every game across the NFL, and that's drops. It seems that we're in the middle of a drop epidemic. We saw it this past week in the Manning Bowl with Wes Welker. I mean, you don't even have to get me started about the Jets-Pats game. And it just seems to be going on across the NFL. Like, what do you think might be leading to that? Is it just like a freak thing?
I think that these receivers are just so competitive, and every time they touch the ball, they think they can score. And a lot of times, it's a lot of young kids are just, they're looking away before they even reel it in. It's kind of a lost art because everyone's thinking, let's take it. Watching Deshaun Jackson and Devin Hester, all these guys make these 80-yard plays, even Victor Cruz, they just want to get it and go. And it's really a lost art. I know in the 90s, and early 2000s, you had Hines Ward. He was just strictly, possession receiver. I'll get it. Chris Carter, possession receiver. Not everyone was looking to just take it to the crib. They knew their part, but these guys all are just trying to get it and go, and I respect it, but you got to bring it in, especially even Des Bryant. He balled out, and then horrific job. That kid can ball. You saw him, all the catches he made, but you just got to make sure you catch it first. The most important thing, just like a running back, you got to make sure you protect the ball first. You got to make sure you catch it. It's as good as a fumble to me. It's awful, but a lot of times they're big plays that can change the game. So hopefully they just learn more and bring it in. But it is hard sometimes when you want to just make your presence felt in the organization. You just want to show them, hey, I can do this. So we'll see, but Yeah, hopefully they get it together.
Yeah, so a whole lot of people not wanting to do the dirty work of actually catching the ball.
Yeah.
But so Drew, thank you very much for joining us on MoodTube. And,
No problem, man.
wish you the best of luck in the future.
Appreciate it.
I'd now like to welcome you all to a new segment on MoodTube. It's called Ask Moody. I'm giving viewers a chance to email in, fire me out a question, and I'll pick a few every week and I'll answer them here on MoodTube. So the first question I have is, it's no secret that the NFL has become a more pass-happy league over the past decade. It's interesting to see how focused offenses are on being able to move the ball downfield quickly. Are we going to see a rise in the amount of flex running backs versus traditional power backs we are used to? Thanks for the question, and my response is, while we're going to see more flex running backs, I don't think it's going to be too dramatic of a switch. If you look at most teams where there's a flex running back, like the young rookie Giovanni Bernard, there's going to be another running back like Ben-Jarvis Green-Ellis, the more traditional power running back. And also, I just think there's going to be more of an emphasis on the running backs, the traditional power running backs, being able to catch the ball. I mean, if you can have a running back like Adrian Peterson, you're never going to turn that down. So while there's going to be an increase in flex running backs, I don't think they're ever going to replace, by any means, the traditional powerful running back. The next question is, the Seahawks crushed the 49ers at home last week. How much do you think you can read into that game? Well, there's an interesting thing on this. I knew the Seahawks were going to win that game. Coming off a hard-fought loss against the Panthers, and with the 49ers coming off a big win against the Packers, I just could kind of tell that it was going to be letdown city for the 49ers, and it's hard enough to go in and win in Seattle anyway. I did not expect us to have that blowout, so I definitely think that Seattle is now the team to beat, because like you've been hearing on ESPN all week long, there's not a single team in the NFL that wants to have to go into Seattle and play in the playoffs on the road. So right now, because they got that first win, I've got Seattle as my favorites, but I don't think it's going to be, there's that much to read into it. I still think the 49ers are a very good team. I just think that they got outplayed and outmanned and out-physicaled and out-hustled on the road after a big emotional win against the Packers. And lastly, this comes from last week's Bet Moody loser, Crawford Clark. He's wondering if this weekend at the Panthers is a must-win game for the Giants. And I don't, in terms of being able to make it into the playoffs, I don't think it's a must-win. They're only one game back in the division, and they're yet to play a home divisional game. So they can lose this game, go 0-3, and still find a way into the playoffs. But I think in terms of their psyche, I think they need to come out and win this game against the Panthers on the road. They're a defense with no true identity. Their defensive line hasn't been as good as it has in the past, and there's you don't really know what you're going to get out of their secondary with all the injury issues. Their running game is in complete shambles, and they've got a quarterback in Eli Manning who's thrown 7 interceptions in the first 2 games. Now, a lot of them have been freak interceptions, but that doesn't hide the fact that through 2 games he has 7 interceptions, which is more than Mark Sanchez ever had in a 2-game stretch. So that's it for this week's segment of Ask Moody. If you'd like to email me a question, you can email moodsportstips@gmail.com. Again, that's moodsportstips@gmail.com. And now for this week's picks. I'm going to stick with the Giants over the Panthers, and I'm going to take, it's a straight pick'em game on scoresnods.com. I'm taking the Giants. I think they're going to come out, they're going to be hungry, and I think they're going to beat the Panthers, who have not looked good against the Bills, and they obviously did not look good against the Seahawks. They've played 2 tough defenses, but the Giants have also played 2 good teams in the Cowboys and the Broncos, and I think the Giants are going to come out and win this one straight up. I'm going to stay in the NFC South, and I'm taking the Falcons +2 over the Dolphins. The Dolphins have looked pretty good the past 2 weeks, and the Falcons have a lot of serious injury issues. But I still think the Falcons are just a better team than the Dolphins, and I think they're going to come out and prove it. The Falcons only giving up 2 points. I don't see any way that they lose this, that they don't win this game by more than a field goal. Now, I'm going to Bears over Steelers, with the Bears giving up 2.5 points. The Steelers are not a good football team at this point. Their offense isn't playing well. Their defense looked pretty good against the Bengals for most of the game, but I just like the Bears a lot. That you know what you have in the Bears defense, and now that Jay Cutler has a second target with Martellus Bennett, their offense to go along with Matt Forte, I think they're a very dynamic offense, and I think it's going to be an interesting race between them, the Lions, and the Packers for who wins the division this year in the NFC North. So I'm taking the Bears, giving up 2.5 points to the Steelers. Staying in the NFC North, I'm taking the Packers, giving up 3 points to the Bengals. I've said the Bengals are a team that I love, but I think the Packers, they had a very tough loss in Week 1 to the 49ers in a very hard-fought game. Then they came out and did work last week. The Bengals looked pretty good in Week 1, and last week their vertical passing game struggled a little bit with A.J. Green being held down by Ike Taylor, but I think they're going to play well, but I see the Packers winning this game by more than a field goal. I'm taking the Packers. And lastly, this brings me to the 49ers versus the Colts. I'm taking the 49ers, giving up 10.5 points. Last week I said I thought the 49ers might go on to win every game for the rest of the year, just not last week, and it's still possible. Before I even looked at this spread, I knew I was going to take the 49ers. They got embarrassed on the road. Now they're playing at home against Andrew Luck and the Colts. There wasn't going to be a spread high enough for me to take the Colts, unless, of course, there's 20 points or something like that. I love the new addition of Trent Richardson to the Colts. I think it makes them a scary offense, especially for the future when they can improve their offensive line. But this week, after getting embarrassed on the road, I like the 49ers to come out and straight work the Colts. So that's it for my picks. Like I said, I'm taking the 49ers over the Colts, giving up 10.5 points. That's it for the picks. Now for this week's segment of Bet Moody. Last week, I bet Crawford Clark about the Manning Bowl, and I ended up being right. This week's Bet Moody game is going on the Jets versus Bills. I'm putting my faith in my team, and I'm betting Bills fan out of Girdland, New York, Ben Kaczynski, that if the Jets lose to the Bills this Sunday, I will have to do next week's Mood Tube as Kenny Powers. And I don't mean just dressed up as Kenny Powers. I mean in full-on character. So, thanks for checking into MoodTube this week. Make sure to tune in next week to possibly see the Phoenix rise from its ashes a week early. But in the meantime, don't forget to check out the tube, because you got to see Mood.